What's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Hope you all had a great start to your week, a great Monday. What we're going to do in this video is we're going to continue to talk about the tropics because one model is completely all in on there being more activity firing up here in the next 8 to 10 days. And pretty much all the other models, I say all the other models, the European, the Canadian model, things like that, basically models we can look a long range at, isn't showing much of anything. But I tell you what, the GFS for now 6, 7 runs in a row, maybe more, for a few days now has consistently been showing something in the 180 to 240 hour range for another threat in the Gulf of Mexico, in the Caribbean from the Gulf of Mexico. So we're going to talk about that. In the beginning of this video, we're going to briefly mention the potential impactful weather for tomorrow and a powerful cold front that's actually moving through the eastern U.S. now that's actually produced a lot of severe weather in the Chicago suburbs, did a lot of damage. Definitely thoughts and prayers go out to them because I saw some video out of that area and they were really hit hard by a tornado. So it always sucks when that happens. When it comes to damage, I don't know if there was any loss of life up in that area, but I know there was a lot of damage. But before we get going, if you have not subscribed to my channel, I upload every day, guys, even when the weather isn't doing much. So definitely hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, like the video. It helps the video get out there, and I upload every day, so I keep y'all informed. And I also storm chase, so thank y'all for the incredible support. It's much appreciated. If you got anything I can pray about, put it in the comments. It gives other people's in the comments a chance to pray for you also, and we can all help each other and pray for each other and look out for one another here on my channel. So thank you all for tuning in. Let's get going. So we're going to start off quickly, and we're going to talk about the tropics, so hold tight if that's why you clicked on the video. We're going to talk about that. There is a marginal threat for severe weather tomorrow and for the eastern U.S. here, and that stretches from as far up as Delaware all the way to the Panhandle in northern Florida. So I think the biggest threat tomorrow is probably going to be some damaging wind gusts. There's not going to really be a tornado threat or anything like that. Not really a big hail threat. The dynamics in place really doesn't support that. We'll take a look at the HRRR model. This goes out to about early afternoon tomorrow. There's actually been some severe storms out there this afternoon in areas of Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina. But as we get going here, we're getting into tomorrow morning. I really think the main energy is actually going to move through probably late morning. So a lot of areas are actually going to not get the most impactful weather during the most prime time of the day, if that makes any sense. So I really am looking at areas of the Carolinas and Georgia, but areas of the eastern areas of these states, from Virginia to Georgia, even up there in Maryland, near Delaware. Some nasty weather can fire up. There is a small risk for some flooding too, just because a lot of areas picked up a lot of rain from Claudette a couple of days ago, well, yesterday. So watching out for storms, especially early afternoon for a lot of the southeast and mid-Atlantic. So definitely keep your eye out for that. Behind this weather, there is going to be a big-time cool down. Not a big-time cool down like crazy cold temperatures, but you're going to notice a big difference for the eastern U.S. in general. Lower humidity and high temperatures really in a lot of areas, maybe the 80s max. It all just depends on where you are. If you're in the mid-Atlantic and northeast, you might just stick with the 70s. So some very comfortable days for most of the rest of the week after today. It was a very humid day across most of the eastern U.S. So now we're going to flip and talk about the tropics. I really don't think tomorrow is going to be that big of a deal. Just some strong, severe storms. It happens. It can happen anytime in the summer. So here we go. This area right here, there's a 30% chance for it to develop into a depression in the next 5 days. But I'm telling you, I think the conditions are not very favorable out ahead of this. I think really none of the global models like the European, the GFS, Canadian, really no models are showing this really developing in anything. Now maybe the energy from this can pop something over here, and we're gonna kind of watch for that, but I really don't see this developing. There's also a big time tropical wave way out here. I want to show you this really quick. Well, let's go on and look at this. This is a big time tropical wave coming off northern Africa, but there's no mention of development right now on this. This is the wave that has that 30% chance of developing in the next 5 days. We'll watch this. I don't think much is going to come out of this. This is what's left of Claudette up here. It's heading out to cooler waters. It's already in cooler waters. It's going to continue just to dissipate. This is the strong cold front popping off all them high high cloud tops right here, moving through. And check out this big explosion of convection right here in the northern areas of the Gulf of Mexico. That is actually an MCS, a mesoscale convective system that's exploded. And it actually looks like a mini tropical storm out there. It actually looks a lot better than Claudette ever did. It's pretty crazy. But that has since died down, lost some steam. So this is the area we're going to continue to watch. It's the same area we kind of watch from the origins of Claudette. Right here in Central America and Mexico, there's actually going to be a chance for this to develop into an all-out hurricane off the coast of Mexico, the Pacific side. So we'll watch that. I really think, I don't talk much on that, but there's a chance for a big-time hurricane potential off the Pacific coast of Mexico. But we're going to watch this area. So we're going to just go on and look at the sea surface temperatures. I haven't showed this in the last few videos. This is in Celsius. So once you get into 29 to 30 degrees Celsius, you start to get the mid-80s. It is starting to heat up here off the coast of southeast Texas. So if anything develops right in here and cruises north, sea surface temps, if other conditions are in place, like if there's a low shear, not a lot of dry air in place, and just better conditions, then anything develops in here has a chance. Now, you notice the cooler waters right here. That is because that is where Claudette went through, and it's kind of cooled the waters down, but it's still in the low 80s. Now, you notice the waters out here are starting to warm up, especially just south of Cuba. So this is the area we have to watch for development for sure. So let's look at the GFS. We're gonna really talk about the GFS because the GFS is really wanting to pop something off here. So this is the latest GFS. We're gonna take a look at multiple GFS runs because the last few has showed something potentially like a big deal, a big scenario here. So we're gonna roll through. If you don't know what day we're at Wednesday, July 23rd, which is in 36 hours, hour 36. So if you don't know what day we're at, look up here because I know a lot of times I forget to mention what day we're at. So we're at Wednesday, we're at Thursday of this week, we're at Friday. Begin to watch down here. You start to see more and more green. And notice this tropical system developing off the coast of Mexico. That is actually, it's got a lot of support behind it that it's going to develop into something. But we're not talking much on that. Watch this area right here. Check out this low pressure that pops off this weekend down here. You get going through in time, you don't see much again. Basically, it's the CAG, it's the CAG, right? It's all the convective energy, basically all the spin over Central America that has a chance to develop into tropical activity if it can get over open water. This happens this time of the year in June, July, even in May, and even into August. It can happen really any time of the year, but this is the most favorable thing to happen as far as tropical development in early in hurricane season. This is when it's primed to happen. You're not often going to see a full-fledged tropical wave make it all the way across the northern Atlantic and impact the lower 48. That don't happen this time of the year due to a lot of Saharan dust that tends to be in place that really dries out the systems way out there. And the conditions just aren't as favorable out there this time of the year. But check out this. You're moving through here in time. And watch this area right here. It's consistently been showing up just south of Cuba. Keep in mind, the sea surface temperatures in this area are pretty warm. Pops off that low pressure, gets off the western tip of Cuba, gets into the Gulf of Mexico, and it strengthens. At this time, we're at Thursday, we're around Wednesday of next week. So we're pretty far out. We're about 8 or 9 days out. This thing begins to strengthen to a low-end hurricane and slams and strengthens. It's actually a strengthening storm as it's making landfall. So it goes on, hits are right around where Hurricane Michael hit, maybe a little more east, and hits the armpit of Florida and rides up, and cruises through Georgia and the Carolinas. Now you sit here and we can back it up here, and let's go to the 12Z run and see what the difference here of this is. Let my computer load for a minute, guys. Same time frame, we're on next Wednesday. And check out, pops off that low pressure again, but check out where it does here. It's a little bit more east. And now this is really far out. I'm telling you, it's 252 hours out. But the development starts as early as really next Monday, so a week out, potential development. I really have a feeling it's going to do kind of what Claudette did. We're going to continue to back up a day every once in a while, every couple of days, and we're going to have struggle to get this in the close range. That's why it felt like we talked about Claudette for about 14, 15 days, which we did. I made videos about it for about 2 weeks straight. So this could be another situation like that. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And eventually the European will begin to catch on a little bit. But this moves through on the 12Z and makes landfall about the same strength hurricane, but more so near the Alabama coastline and far eastern tip of Florida. Western tip of Florida. Now, I'll look at one more run. We'll back it up to 06Z. Now, I tell you what, guys, it keeps going. It goes all the way up to about another 5 runs or so. But this one has it developing around the same area, just south of Cuba. Around, if you live in Jamaica, watch out. This could be impactful weather. It has it going, but it has it cruising west and strengthening big time as potentially a major hurricane in Brownsville, Texas. So don't take this set in stone at all. But the GFS will not let it go. I'll tell you that right now. I keep wondering if it's going to let it go and the Europeans are going to take over. And it might. It still might. But it definitely garners our attention. Now, this is the pattern in place as far as steering currents, where the high ridging is, the high pressures is, any troughs. We're getting through here in time. This is the latest GFS. We're getting into next Monday. Any of the red you see in the high pressures, that's ridging. It's high pressure in place. When you see these dips right here, those are troughs. Those are cold fronts. Here it comes. We're getting into next week. Here's the low pressure that pops off the potential tropical system. It finds a weak spot in the ridge, and it kind of gets picked up by the trough, kind of like what Claudette happened, except the trough was a little bit further back. But it kind of picks up by the trough, and then it finds that weakness and rolls in, and then affects the lower 48. Now you look at the GFS ensembles here, as far as where potential low pressures could be. It starts to heat up around this weekend, late this weekend. You start to see more and more activity firing up, and it likes the Gulf of Mexico. It likes the Western Caribbean into the Gulf of Mexico, but it's pretty far out. Now, I'm not going to ignore the European at all, because the European normally wins. But here you go. We're looking at the European. We're getting into this weekend. We're getting into early next week. And notice you're not really seeing any tropical development. You see a lot of activity down here, but you're not seeing anything concrete develop at all. So European still says no right now. It still isn't showing anything. I will mention that the EPS ensembles, the European ensembles, it's not really showing anything either. It just is not biting on this thing. This is around the same time frame and only shows a couple storms. So there's not consistency yet. The only thing consistent is one model, and it's consistently showing things left and right. And it's actually pretty consistent about where it develops, and as far as where it hits, it's not. But we don't expect much consistency this far out. There really wasn't much consistency with Claudette this far out. But that inconsistency eventually turned into consistency, and we ended up getting a landfalling, very weak tropical storm and impactful weather that ultimately, I believe, killed 12 people. So that's why we make these videos. That's why I make these videos, not to hype, but to make y'all aware that it's pretty active early on. So we need to continue to monitor this and check it out. So definitely stay tuned for more updates in the future. I'll keep y'all updated. Thank y'all for the amazing support, and y'all have a blessed night.